Welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free, formerly Wannabe Minimalist, the podcast for busy families who are tired of the chaos, fed up with being overwhelmed, and ready to enjoy life again. Each week, we talk about how to let go of the clutter so that you can focus on the things that actually matter. And it's not just physical clutter. We talk about the mental and emotional stuff too, because if it's holding you back, it's time to ditch it. I share what I've done in my own life to declutter, organize, and calm the chaos, but you won't just hear it from me. There are amazing guests too. It's practical, doable, and simple for those of us that want to be clutter-free. Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 219 of the Wannabe Clutter Free podcast. On today's episode, I am chatting with Anjie Cho and Laura Morris about Feng Shui principles. Now, this was a concept that I was introduced to way back when I first moved out of my parents' house and got my first apartment, and it's changed a lot. I think we had a conversation that I'm so sad I didn't record after I hit stop recording with our actual podcast conversation you'll hear in just a minute. And it was talking about how the first book I had about Feng Shui was very prescriptive. And so a lot of my approach actually at the beginning of this conversation is kind of from that perspective. But it's so interesting. They were saying how, yes, you can be very prescriptive and very, rigid in your application of Feng Shui. But once you kind of understand the principles, you can go levels deeper, right? You can understand how it doesn't have to be so one way, right? There's no this way or the highway. There's lots of different ways. And I feel the same way when it comes to organizing and decluttering. So it's a really interesting conversation, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So if you've ever been curious about Feng Shui, how it fits into the modern American life, well, this conversation is going to be very interesting for you. And if you like what you hear, can you do me a huge favor and leave this podcast a rating and a review? You can leave it a star rating anywhere you're probably listening to this. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You can leave a comment on Spotify. And these guest episodes come out every Monday on YouTube. So you can leave a comment over there as well. And just thank you so much for doing that. It really means the world to me, and it helps me know what you like about the show or areas I can improve. So definitely thank you for giving me your thoughts and your comments. All right, so let's learn more about my guest today. Anjie Cho is a Feng Shui and Dharma arts educator. She is the author of 3 books, Holistic Spaces, Mindful Homes, and Mindful Living. She is also an architect. Laura Morris is a Feng Shui teacher and tarot card reader. She is also an artist, mom, wife, and avid traveler. She divides her time between her home in Prince Edward County, Canada, and her farmhouse in southern Tuscany, Italy. Laura is also an interior designer. And together, they are the co-founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School and co-hosts of the Holistic Spaces podcast. So make sure you are checking out their information. Their newest book just came out this month, and I will have links to all of that in the show notes, which you can find at wannabeclutterfree.com/219. Again, that's wannabeclutterfree.com/219. And now let's get to our conversation. Well, hi, Anjie and Laura. Welcome to Wannabe Clutter Free. How you doing today?
Great.
Great. Nice to meet you, Deanna.
So nice to meet both of you. I always love these dual interviews. They get a little tricky, but they'll be a lot of fun. And I am so excited to talk about the topic today. We're going to talk about Feng Shui, and you guys have a book out. But before we dive into all of that, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and what brought you to where you are right now?
So, my name is Laura Morris, and I am one of the co-authors of the book Mindful Living, as well as co-founder of the school of Feng Shui that Anjie and I have called the Mindful Design Feng Shui School. And I'm Canadian. I'm in Canada. And Anjie and I have been doing this for a number of years now, teaching and been together as partners, and we're really proud of our partnership. And recently we came out with a book, which you mentioned. So it's sort of, this is where we are right now with the book. We're talking a lot about the book, but we've been doing Feng Shui as a partnership now for over 6 years. And we both had similar but also diverging paths on how we got to this spot. And we can talk about that a little later. But Yeah, we're really proud of this book and proud of what we've done to this point, and we just love talking about feng shui, basically. Any chance.
Super fun. Angie, anything you want to add?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Laura's business partner, and I'm in New York City, and I'm a feng shui expert and feng shui educator. And Laura and I teach feng shui together. And we also host our own podcast where we talk all about feng shui. And I also teach different Dharma arts, like Buddhist arts. And I'm also an architect in New York City. Laura and I both have backgrounds in interiors, and Laura was an interior designer, and I'm still a practicing architect, and we teach feng shui. So we just look at homes and work with people in their homes and really tie in that spiritual feng shui aspect to things.
Oh, super fun. Well, I feel like I am back in my little comfort spot. So I used to live in Chicago and I worked with architects and interior designers and a real estate developer. And it was so much fun to get to watch the process of taking an old building, demolishing it, and then the whole design process from the ground up, from, the entire just plan. And then, oh my, I love blueprints. I'm such a nerd. I totally love blueprints. I love looking at them. I love deciphering them. And so I am not trained in this at all as far as architecture or interior design goes, but I just loved working with the architects in the interior design and watching the whole process come together. So this is fun. I did not know this before our conversation. So I love it. Sorry, thank you for letting me go off on a little tangent there.
Yeah, you'll love feng shui, especially because most of what we do is we look at floor plans all the time.
Super fun. Okay. So take me back to what is feng shui. I feel like this was really big in the 90s. I feel like it had a big grand opening to the US in the 90s. Tell me, I could be completely wrong in that, but I feel like that's the first time I heard of feng shui. So tell me a little bit about what is feng shui, and then we'll get into how it can complement us with decluttering and organizing.
Sure. So feng shui is something that was definitely really popular in the 80s and 90s, but I think it's really making a comeback now. So feng shui is a way of looking at your space and working with the energy or the life force energy of your space. We call that qi. And it comes from Asia, but many different cultures have some version of looking at your relationship to your environment. So the way that Laura and I approach feng shui is really that it's a mindful practice of looking at your space and beginning to see how your home and the spaces around you are interconnected and interdependent with your inner space. So it's not just about how things look on the outside, but also how does that affect you and how do you affect it? And so I think it's a really nuanced way to begin to look at your home, and I'm sure with a lot of your listeners. And for you, we're drawn to this kind of practice, like looking at spaces because we feel connected to our environments. And we know in our hearts, like underneath everything, that there's something more to it, right?
All right, so interesting. How would you say, though, feng shui complements when we're trying to declutter and organize our home? Because I remember looking at it, and actually, let's dive in a little bit deeper into maybe what feng shui really is, because I think now we're talking about it as a concept, but I feel like I had this book and it was talking about it being into 9 different quadrants, and each area worked in different things. So how do you work with people when it comes to feng shui?
You are right. There is that 9 different areas. So here's the thing about feng shui. It is a graceful and beautiful and often can be applied very simply, but it's not necessarily easy. So there's the distinction of it being accessible and everybody can play with it and can take parts of it and use it. But if you do really, really learn it as a discipline or as a modality, it is very complex. So, yes, there is that. What you were talking about is called the bagua. And the bagua is something that we apply when we're looking at, we were talking about the floor plans, you would lay it on that. It's like, for lack of a better word, it's a mandala, but it's also a map. So as you can look at someone's life. But if you kind of back it up a little bit, what Angie was talking about is really fundamentally what feng shui is about, which is, how do you feel in your home? Is it supporting you? Are you able to accomplish the things that you need to do in your life? Or do you feel like you're set back a bit? Like you're not able to live your full potential, be productive, or maybe you're feeling depleted. All of these things, it's your quality of life. And feng shui is about making sure that your home is set up in a way that you're able to launch yourself out into the world better. That's kind of like the basic. But underlying that, you have so many different types of concepts and systems and tools and adjustments and things that we do. And it's all very often, it's very tailored to a person's individual energy too.
Okay. All right. All right. So let's take that. And how would you then apply that to the concepts of decluttering and organizing? Because that's why a lot of people will come listen to this show, is because that's what we talk about. So, how would you take? I mean, it sounds like it really is kind of that first mindful piece of where you would start. So, I'm curious how it works with your clients.
Yeah. So I think there is a deep connection with feng shui and clutter, although clutter did not exist when feng shui was developed, right? So it's really a modern issue, I guess, because we just have so much stuff now. And with capitalism, we just have a lot more things than we need, right? And so that's why I think a lot of people are longing for more simplicity in their life, not just with clutter of objects, but there's so much talk about like now, like decluttering the amount of activities you have or decluttering the amount of like digital information you have around you, right? But there is this connection with physical clutter and feng shui because both start to look on the superficial level. They look at your physical space and what is happening in your physical space. So some of the ways that feng shui can work in tandem with someone who's going to be organizing their space or interested in decluttering is that recognition that there is something stuck when we have an accumulation of things around us. So in feng shui, we might say that it's stagnant qi. Qi is life force energy. And then if we have an accumulation of objects or things, or even energetically or emotionally, those invisible things, what that does is, from a feng shui point of view, it creates obstacles in our lives. Like we've accumulated ways to prevent ourselves from moving forward, which could mean maybe we can't even move through our homes easily. Like you have to go sideways to go out the door because you have so many things hanging behind your door that you can't even open your door all the way. Or maybe you have like a treadmill in your living room that you stare at every day that you have to walk around and that you have to make a conscious effort to ignore. So feng shui also acknowledges that it's preventing or affecting the flow of qi or the flow of energy or the flow of the people, the life in the space. And then also there's this other level that we can look at where clutter is connected to feng shui, that we see that there's energy connected and embedded in objects and things and people and walls. And so sometimes the energy of the object holds us back. Like, for instance, maybe someone keeps letters from an ex. And, for the naysayers, I would say, well, why don't you just get rid of those letters from the ex if they don't hold any energy? But then they won't because, we all acknowledge that items can hold a lot of memories and a lot of energy and be very powerful. And so feng shui does look at like, what is the energy? What are the vibration? What's the vibration? What's the quality of the chi or that life force energy that's in the things around us, whether it's the walls or the floor of the home, but also the things that we have in our home. And does this support us or does it hold us back? Or can we start to see that things that we have in our life begin to hold us back and then we can make that choice to let go of it or to keep it?
Hmm. I like that. It almost seems like it's putting a name to kind of that mindfulness or even manifestation, right? I feel like that's been kind of a buzzword around for a while, kind of manifesting what you want in your life. I think feng shui is probably a lot older, but kind of taking these concepts and being very mindful about what you want in your space, but maybe helps people dive a little bit deeper into why they want it this way or then how the different things might be affecting them emotionally and in these different areas where I think we'll maybe get into maybe what some of the different areas are or like how they could affect them in one way or another. And then I know there's probably a lot of naysayers out there saying like, okay, what? So I just put something over here and then all of a sudden my cheese going to be better, right? Or I put just change like if I just rearrange my room, my life's going to be good again. Like I feel like maybe that there might be a little backlash on that. So maybe if you can share personal experience where feng shui has significantly changed either your living space in life or that of a client, maybe that might be helpful if we get an example.
Yeah. So sometimes feng shui can be very common sense based. And I think what you were talking about in a way is, and what we like to refer to it is, you want to be moving, designing, or setting your space up with intention. Okay. Being really intentional about how you do things. And that in itself is enough. Okay. So you can practice this practice of feng shui and do that. And know that if you do it with intention, whatever adjustment you're going to do or whatever you're going to do around the home, it will give it that layer, that deeper layer, that more meaningful part, which we believe taps into the energy of the situation.
All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, Laura is going to share a moment from her personal life where feng shui made a huge difference in her home. You won't want to miss it.
I'm Margaret.
And I'm Amy.
And together we host the podcast, What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood.
Margaret, I would say you're sort of a where are my keys kind of mom.
Correct. Sometimes a where are my kids kind of mom. Well, you're Amy more of a we were supposed to leave 35 seconds ago, mom.
I mean, touche. In each episode of What Fresh Hell, we come at a topic from our usually completely opposite perspectives. I bring the research.
And I bring kind of the gimlet eye. Like, is that research really going to work, people?
And almost 10 million downloads later, we're still laughing.
We also talk to experts in the parenting field, plus parents with stories we can all learn from.
We make each other laugh, we challenge each other's assumptions, and we have what we think is the best parenting community on the internet.
Check out What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back.
But so an example would be, at one point, I wanted to, when I was first really starting to do this practice a lot, I wanted to get more clients. And I felt like things were maybe a bit slow. And so I started looking at the front door and the door to my bedroom. So doors are really powerful in feng shui. They are portals. They are where energy moves from one space to a next. It's sort of your voice. It's your privacy. It's a lot of things. It's a really important design detail or design feature in a home. And so I took a look at what was happening in my front door, and I realized that my front door couldn't open fully. So because there was a whole lot of shoes behind my front door, which is, it's fine. That's normal. I mean, we call that sort of transitional clutter, where it's like things that your home is alive. You're doing things are happening. You have kids. It is the way it is. But I realized that there was probably a better way that I could have that front entrance set up so that at the very least, when I opened my front door, it would swing fully. Because there's nothing worse than when you open that door and it bounces back and almost hits you in the face. And the same would go for your bedroom door. Because in feng shui, what we believe is that the front door is what we call the mouth of qi. This is where most of the energy is coming in. And it is where opportunities come in. And so if you make this intentional decision to rearrange, declutter behind that front door, make sure the door swings well, make sure the hinges are oiled, give your front door basically some love, do the same thing maybe on your bedroom door, with the intention to open your home up and by extension yourself up to new opportunities, then you're ready for it. It's setting this intention. And in my case, I did get a new client. So it worked because I had that in my mind and there was a reason why I was doing it. And it was actually quite a lovely way to declutter or to rearrange that entry. So that's one way you can think of it. And so it's common sense, but with like this intention and this deeper understanding or openness to energy.
Okay, that makes sense. I really like that. I like that example of opening your home is in essence opening yourself because our homes, like you said, they're living places. We live here. and life is happening here. And we need to be open to what that says about us. What does our environment say about what's happening inside of us as well? So, all right, that makes sense. I like how that it helps kind of give that visual, right? Because I think we're talking about something that's really heady, right? That's really just kind of like, okay, I think I kind of understand it, but being able to see it in an actual example is very helpful. All right, so what would you say to someone who they've like decluttered their home? I'm going to go ahead and use myself as an example. I've been actually working on this. School just went back into session this week, so I have a little bit more time, right? We came off of a very busy summer. We were gone for 4 weeks. We were super lucky and got to go to Europe for 4 weeks, and our house was closed up the whole time. And now since we've come back, it has just felt stagnant. It has felt musty. And we live in San Diego. We don't have air conditioning. We're close enough to the beach where the ocean air is causing a problem with the humidity and the dampness in our home and the salt, but not close enough to where we feel like, oh, we're at the beach. Of course, this is going to be an issue. And so, we're not getting the best of all those worlds, but that's okay. First world problems. So what would you say to somebody like me where things have felt and now feel stagnant, even though I feel like I have decluttered and organized? I'm definitely doing another pass because all of that stuff definitely needs another pass, right? If you don't touch your stuff for a while. But what would you say in that situation? How do we start to get our energy flowing?
Well, that's a great question. So, what do you do when your home or your life feels stagnant? So, you're actually talking about a situation that is happening because what's going on in your life. So, but there are lots of people who haven't gone on a long trip and then still feel stagnant too. So, hopefully, this will be supportive for them as well. So, if we go back to that idea of life force energy, and we see that that actually moves through your home and it also moves through your body too. It's not like your blood, but it is like your blood. It's kind of like prana if anyone does yoga, right? Yoga is really very household now. So, like, it's about that, not about the breath, not about the blood, but it's that flow. And so, when the doors are closed and there's no one in the home and there's no life, there's no movement, then things do get stagnant and naturally dust accumulates and things get musty and it's not as attractive for it's not a living space, right? It doesn't have that life force energy. So we would say it's a little bit yin, it's a little bit dead, and not yang, which is vibrant and alive like the sun. So one of the ways that you could stir up the life force energy of a space, especially if you're feeling stagnant, is to bring in more sunlight. So you can actually open up all the windows and all the doors. And what we would do is put a little feng shui twist to it by adding the number 9, because 9 is a really auspicious number. So you could open all the doors and windows to the outside for 9 minutes. And with that, visualize that sunlight, whether it can actually reach all the dark corners or not. You can visualize that your whole home is kind of inhaling and exhaling with that vibrant sunlight. And just like if you put like your blanket out in the sun, it's going to feel refreshed. It's going to feel bright. It's going to feel cheerful, like the scent of an orange peel. And then another feng shui tip is actually to use oranges, because oranges also bring in that chi, that element of the sun. So you can use orange essential oil or fresh oranges or orange peels in your home to kind of lift the energy. And you can bring in that number 9 again and maybe have like 9 oranges, fresh oranges in your living room or in your kitchen. And yes, you can eat them. Yeah. And we always get the question, can I eat them? Yes, you could eat them. And then there's a couple other quick things that you could do is you could also use that number 9 to kind of move the energy around your home by just moving 9 things around your home. So it doesn't mean like you have to move your sofa to the bedroom, but it could be really small, like the lamp behind you. Maybe you move it like a quarter turn, or maybe you decide to sit, maybe you move yourself and you decide to sit in a different location on your sofa, or you move a pillow, or maybe you move like your painting up 1 inch. So just kind of intentionally shaking it up a little bit in your home. Like, doesn't have to be huge. It could be huge. You could like decide like, I want to like move my desk to the other side of the room, or you could just keep it really simple. So those are three really simple things you can do is just bring in sunlight, literally bring in the sunlight, but also energetically visualize sunlight is filling your home and just imagine your home's like breathing in and out with that pure sunlight, kind of freshening up your space, bringing in the chi of um, the fresh orange peels, that citrus smell. And also, the orange is very auspicious in feng shui because it's like the color of gold. So it's very prosperous. And then moving 9 things around.
Okay. All right. Those are really fun tips. And I could feel it as you like were moving your hands. Like it made you think like, yeah, feel your house breathing in. And I can imagine if you are sitting in the middle of your home, intentionally thinking about having this and having all the doors and windows open and the airflow, that it would start to then kind of move all that out and help it come in. So I am going to be doing that this afternoon when we hang up this call.
Yeah, and even I know the podcast listeners can't see me moving my hands, but what I was doing was kind of I had my palms facing each other and they're moving in and out. But you could also sit in the center of your home after you've opened all the windows and just set your timer, but breathe. And as you breathe and your body come in, is moving in and out, you can breathe. The body of your home is moving in and out with you and just shaking up the chi and bringing some life and breath into it and oxygen, right?
Yeah, super great. Okay, let's go the opposite end because sometimes, so I have busy moms, busy families are listening to this show and they're like, my house is lively. Like, it's too lively. So, what do you do in a situation where you feel like just everything is out of control? It's chaotic, and you're just like, okay, there's too much energy. I don't need any more. I don't want these oranges. I want the opposite. What do I do in that instance? All right, time for one more quick break, and then we're going to get the opposite side, right? So if you're not looking to bring energy into your home or make it more lively, we're going to learn how to make it calm and peaceful. This one is especially for you, busy moms. Okay, let's do this.
Well, I would say what they have right now is obviously a very active household, which is a lot of yang qi, right? So, we talk about yin and yang, and so there's qi moving. They've got children, and children are like little qi machines, right? They just kind of go around and fuel the place and so you're right, you don't necessarily want more active energy, you want more yin energy, or at least you want to balance it out a little bit, right? So maybe, oranges are good when, as Angie was saying, stagnant space. So the other would be, let's focus on what we would say more yin areas of the home, or areas that should be leaning toward that side, which is more peaceful. So the bedrooms. So, again, it's if you're wanting one simple thing to do, and busy moms, I can appreciate it. We don't have time to do all these elaborate things, but one thing to think about is take a look and see how difficult it is to get to your bed. Okay, so from the beginning of whenever you're sitting let's say you're sitting at your sofa and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to bed now. Walk and see your path to your bed. What did you experience? How many times did you have to move around, move something, kick something out of the way, shimmy? And then when did your door, like we talked about, did your door not open fully? Could it even open? Maybe there was, then, what was the path? Did you have to, were you walking over clothing and things and da 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 da? The more difficult your path to your bed is, the more difficult it is actually in your life overall. It kind of reverberates. In feng shui, we believe that path sort of reverberates through your personal life as well as your own ability to sort of feel recharged. So at the very least, if you can clear off that path, it doesn't matter. I don't really care if it's it doesn't look great when I put it on the side. Just make a concerted effort to make your path and your experience to get into your bed a little bit more peaceful, enjoyable, easy. In feng shui, we believe that alone will give you that more ease in your life. So, and then from there, we always find sometimes we say, okay, we'll just remove 9 things from, Angie was talking about nines, remove the 9 things from somewhere. maybe in your bedroom, just move 9 things or remove 9 things, or even just one thing. And then, you know, it starts to propel you forward, and then you start to do more and more and more. But what's nice about using feng shui as an inspiration is knowing that, yes, you are decluttering and you're doing that sort of, we would say, like that basic kind of mundane exercise of decluttering. But know that you're doing this because you are worth that. You are worth the time to do that. You are focusing on yourself. And, your bedroom and your bed especially represents you and how you feel about yourself. So, maybe make your bed even before you get into it, even if you didn't have time to make it in the morning, and then clear your path to your bed and do that as a ritual to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's so nice. Okay. And that's an easy and interesting tip that I haven't had before, which is really fun. I like that idea of clearing the path because we definitely, we all talk about clearing our bedroom and making the bedroom a sanctuary and things like that. But the idea of the path to the bedroom, that's a new one. I love it. What if again, we're talking about families here and, we were talking about individualism. Now, how does this apply to the family? Because now you've got lots of individuals all living together and your bed is likely shared with a partner. So how does this then kind of work within the feng shui ideology?
All right. So when we look at someone's feng shui or the feng shui of a home, we do absolutely take in consideration the entire family. So we look at the different levels of the spaces. Like, for instance, Laura just talked about the bedroom, and bedrooms are your most private space. So sometimes parents are co sleeping with their children for quite some time. But and so that bedroom space could be for the entire family. Eventually, when the children get older, they'll each have their own bedrooms. So we basically look at the bedroom as like your tightest little concentric circle. So if you wanted to make feng shui changes in your bedroom, that would affect you the most because that's your private room. But then when you go out to larger areas, the more public areas, say the kitchen or the living room or the entry, that affects everyone in the home. So any kind of feng shui that you would apply to different public areas of your home would affect everyone else. So it's all inclusive, but I think maybe, what would be helpful is like, are there any specific feng shui techniques that would be helpful for a family, right? It's for more family harmony and to make sure that all the family members feel included, right? So that could be one thing that people would want to consider. So there's actually an area of the map that you talked about or the mandala. It's called the bagua, and it's something that you overlay on your favorite thing, the floor plan. So, and there's actually 8 areas around a center, which equals 9 areas, but they're technically 8 and around a center area. And that's why it's a mandala, because there's a center point and it radiates out. And they all relate to different life areas. For instance, there's an area related to family. And actually, there's an area related to children as well, and mother and father and your ancestors. So there's different areas. And they also have like more well known categories like career and family is one, career is one. Wealth is a popular one. Relationships is the other popular one. And they also have color overlays, shape overlays, elemental overlays. But anyway, back to family. There's an area called family, and the color of that area is green, blue, and teal. So actually, one way that you could start to kind of, with intention, using feng shui, bring more harmony in your family is to bring in some way, bring into those public areas that all the family spends time in, like, let's say, around the dining room table or in the living room, that color, green, blue, or teal, with the intention that you're bringing this in to bring more harmony to the family. So that everyone feels included. So it could be something as simple as a living green plant, or it could be like maybe a DIY piece of art that everyone makes with the whole family. The whole family makes and everyone picks a different color of green, blue, or teal. Or it could be a pillow.
Oh, super fun. All right. I'm just sitting here going, ooh, we did navy all around our dining table and I'm feeling really happy about it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And also, and like having all this is kind of one that's really kind of obvious, but making sure there's a seat for everyone. There's like a spot that every person in the home has a spot because I sometimes it's not true. Like sometimes not everyone can sit down comfortably in the living room to gather, right? So having room and space for each person. And then again, you can use the feng shui color theory, like bringing in green, blue, or teal to really maybe highlight that intention for more family harmony.
Love that. Okay, so you were talking about the bagua and kind of then overlaying it on your floor plan. What if you end up having a room that doesn't match with the area that it's supposed to be? Like, how do you kind of start to reconcile that stuff? Because that could be a challenge.
So we don't actually think of it that way, interestingly. So yeah, we don't look at the purpose of the room with the overarching, theme of the Bagua area. What instead we would, so we don't worry that like, oh, for the most part, by the way, I'm simplifying it, but like we don't worry, like we get this a lot actually. It's like, oh no, I just found out that my, area of like love and romance and partnership is my kid's bedroom. And it's like, that's not romantic. It's like, okay, fair enough. And so, you can't really do anything in that area. But as long as, your kid is, happy and, lively and having all these great, that's fine. So instead, what we would look at in those cases is we look at the bedroom because your bedroom you can bagua. And it's actually way easier than doing your whole house. So, you can just bagua that space, and it really has to do with you, right? With you and your partner or with you. And so then you can look at that, activate things, focus on different areas. So, yes, there are some cases where we might say, "Ooh, there's a bathroom in that area. Yikes," right? And then there's that kind of, "Oh no, there's a toilet, blah." So, but again, with feng shui, this is it, there's always really creative and fun ways that you can adjust different things and have fun with it. So, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think what is really I think for your listeners, if they are interested in the bagua, to start on their bedroom.
Got it. And just overlay the bagua in the one room and using that room as its own standalone place.
And it's very powerful too, because your bedroom is your most intimate to you, right? And the it's even for and you can even do your kids' bedrooms too. Like you can do each person's bedroom if they wanted to do it. But if you're doing it, it's really personal to you. You spend a lot of your resting time there. And when you're sleeping, that's a very powerful time, or, in a way, vulnerable time energetically when you're sleeping. And so you're able to really impact your energy. For those of you that are willing to kind of take this leap with us and think about this, you really are able to impact your energy in that bedroom is the kind of the best space to work with.
Yeah. And Deanna, it's actually a misconception that people think that you're only overlaying the Bagua mandala over the house. So it's a concept that can be overlaid over the house, but it can also be overlaid on your face. It can also be overlaid, like Laura said, on your bedroom. It could be overlaid on your dining room table. It can be overlaid on your desk. It can get bigger. It could go over your entire property. It can go over your entire block. It can go over entire city, your country. So it's really a concept that you apply and it moves. It's not fixed, but it's easy for us to think that, especially if you're a novice. I'm sure there's lots of things that I think are very fixed because I don't know that much about it, but because that's our tendency. Like we really want to solidify things and pinpoint it. And we're like, okay, so that concept means this and it makes us feel better, which is totally natural and it's our human instinct. But really, when you look at feng shui and the philosophy of feng shui, as well as these other mindfulness concepts, it goes deeper than that. So it's really a way of looking at your home. And so it is a misconception that your home, you have to fit the bagua only over your home. We don't want, and feng shui consultants don't expect you to have like every house to be the same with the primary bedroom in the relationship area. Even if we designed a home, we probably wouldn't do that.
Interesting. Well, and too, when you're bringing these concepts from different cultures and then overlapping, and you've got all these kind of different concepts coming together, yes, not everything is going to fit perfectly in line with what you maybe would like it to be. But I think that is one of the fun things in life because that gives us the flavor and the spice and the different, things. And if everything was easy, then life would be boring. So at least that's how I feel. So, okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for breaking down some of these misconceptions and kind of helping us see these different areas. I would love to know if there's kind of one transformative, maybe not one, but a very transformative feng shui tip that you have learned that you would love to share with our listeners and that they can start applying.
I have one that I think is really easy for anyone to apply to their home. And it's about looking at your stove. So in feng shui,
Okay, tell me more.
yeah, and it's a mindful morning ritual. Okay, so your stove in feng shui represents fire element. So it represents transformation. It also represents your wealth and your resources because it's how you nourish yourself, and how well you nourish yourself directly relates to how well you do in the world. And we all know your health is your wealth. If you can't feed yourself well, everything will suffer, right? And also, another thing about the stove is where you create magic, you create alchemy, you take food and you transform it with heat and water into something that you can digest well and benefit from, and it creates nutrition for you. So we create magic things happen, especially like when you're baking, right? It is like alchemy, right? So most people, get up in the morning. You probably got up this morning and do you drink coffee or tea?
I do. I drink coffee.
Yeah. So you drink coffee. So, well, then you probably go to your coffee maker, but you might also go to your stove to heat something up. So the first time you go to your stove in the day, usually everyone has a favorite burner. Mine is a front right burner right now. So I encourage people to take a quiet, mindful moment. It takes seconds, nanoseconds, right? Just standing in front of your stove, which you do every day. But instead of just going to your favorite burner without thinking, stop, recognize, this stove nourishes me. I cook here. I'm so fortunate to have this stove so I can cook food for myself, nourish myself. And then instead of just going mindlessly to your favorite burner, just stop and say, I'm going to make a decision to go to a burner that I want to go to. So maybe it is your favorite burner. Or maybe it's the other burner. Maybe it's something that's been on the back burner, right? Maybe you want to go to the back burner. But it's about creating new neural pathways instead of just automatically beelining towards what you do in your routine. How can you integrate mindfulness and feng shui and consider like this amazing thing? Fire creates food for me. The stove provides food for me. I can provide food for myself and family here. I can nourish my family. I can offer love to my family and also to myself. And instead of just going through life blindly, I can take a second, a nanosecond, and decide which way I want to go. Do I want to go the way I always go? Do I want to pick something else? And how can you start to see new opportunities? How can you start to create new neural pathways? And you could go back to your favorite burner every time, but you know what? You've made that choice to do it.
That's super fun. So, because it does give you a moment of just like, yeah, you're not having to do anything different. You actually didn't have to go buy anything. You didn't have to change anything really about what you did, except for having that one moment, just a pause to say, okay, I'm going to be intentional about this decision that I'm making or what I'm doing next in my life. That's amazing. Thank you. Laura, do you have any you want to add?
Well, I talked a bit about the front door and bedroom door. That's definitely one I would say is easy is check what's going on behind your front door, make sure your front door opens well. The other thing we get a lot, and I do find this is transformative, is many people say, I never come in my front door. I always go in the garage door or the side door. And that's totally fine. As from a feng shui standpoint, don't worry. That's okay. Your life is your life. It's busy. You've got groceries. You're coming in through the garage, whatever it is. So then in that case, because we remember how I mentioned the energy of the mouth of chi, as we call it, and that is that front door, maybe do yourself a favor once every 9 days, open that front door because there are people that honestly maybe never open because they go to a post office. They don't even get the mail from there. So make the effort to open that front door, leave it open for, either 9 seconds, 9 minutes, whatever you like. We like those nines. And then even if you want to add in kind of another layer to it, sweep your front step, sweep your front entrance, sweep the energy out, just get things moving in that front of and opening. Really, we call it like opening your home up again to let the energy in, but also to tell the world that you're here. Sometimes when people feel that they're isolated, they're not having the help that they need, they feel like they need more, help from outside. Let that your front door is your voice to the world. Like let it open up, tell people you're here, don't let them forget about you. And do it like once every 9 days. If you want to do it once every day, that's great too. But be realistic with what you're going to remember to do, and again, it's all about being intentional. And if you have the best of intentions and you're really focused on it, that's a really big part of it.
And I'll just go ahead and add a little tip. Go ahead and put the reminder in your phone right now so you don't forget. Because if you're only doing it once every 9 days, I guarantee you it will just fall off. You'll be like, calculate, when was the last day? So just set it up on your calendar. Just go ahead and do it right now. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Well, this has been lovely and I cannot wait. I'm going to go grab a copy of your book because it's just come out this week and we have just been introduced. So I'm excited to get my hands on it, read it. And I just love the concept of really focusing on the intention piece and being less prescriptive about it. It's less about like, you have to do it here and it's this way. And you've got to bring in, you've got to put the green plant here and this room has to be green and all of that. I love that it is more of we kind of dispelled those misconceptions and it's just looking at it and from a more holistic approach, which is how I love to really approach the decluttering and organizing anyway, because it's all how it helps you function in your life on a grander scheme and how you want to present yourself, not just to the world, but to yourself, right? Like how you want to be and how you feel about living in your own life. So I am super excited about this. So let's do it. Plug the book. Tell us where we can find it. What's the title? Where can we get it? All that kind of stuff. Where can we find out more about you?
Sure. Well, you can find out more about Laura and me and our school called Mindful Design Feng Shui School by visiting mindfuldesignschool.com. And our new book is called Mindful Living. It's Mindful Living, a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui, and it's available wherever books are sold.
Fantastic. Well, we will put some links in the show notes so that people can come right on over and find you. So that's wonderful. And my favorite way, though, to end every episode is with 3 rapid fire questions. So, who wants to go first? We'll decide who wants to go first. I'd love you both to answer the questions, though. So Laura, we'll start with you. What does clutter-free mean to you?
It means that I have space in my life for new opportunities.
Okay, I love it. Anjie?
For me, it means freedom from obstacles.
So good. So good. All right, number 2. Laura, you want to go again first? What's making you happy right now or in this season of life?
I'm really focused on organizing and revamping my entire wardrobe, and I'm very excited about it.
Ooh, that's fun.
And my closet, and by extension, my closet. Yeah, I'm working with a professional. This is a big deal.
Oof, nice. I did that in May. It's huge. It's huge. We did 4 weeks. I did 14 articles of clothing for 4 weeks. It was amazing. So it's really, it's life-changing. You're going to love it. Okay, Anjie?
Yeah, we're actually talking to you at a interesting time because I don't think that we've ever been doing like these decluttering things in our lives. I mean, like at the same time, but I'm also decluttering my bedroom. So I just took down a bunch of bookshelves and I'm letting go of books. And I actually sent an email I asked all of our students if anyone wanted books. So a bunch of people sent me their addresses. So I sent off books to people and I'm just trying to give away lots of books and eventually going to get to the clothing too. But really, I had just these bookshelves full of books and they needed to go.
Yeah, clearing out that stagnant energy. I love it. Okay, number 3, what is a goal you have for yourself this year?
For me, to continue to focus on healthy lifestyle. Yeah, exercise. It sounds really boring, but honestly, it's like my mantra now is just continuing to do that. Yeah.
And for me, I'm also working on my lifestyle too, but more on the on. I'm imagining Laura's more about like working out and things like that. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'm just resting because I'm actually recovering from adrenal fatigue from like way too much overwork for the last like decade. So I'm just resting a lot and healing and taking things slow.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I love it. Yin and yang. Look at that. Perfect. Well, it sounds like a really great partnership. And like I said, I'm going to go out and get my hands on that book so that I can start implementing these practices in my own life. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day. Well, I loved that conversation. And like I said at the beginning, there was a conversation we had after I hit stop recording that I am so sad I didn't continue with. But it was just so nice to get to meet both Laura and Anjie and have this conversation of really broadening my horizon when it comes to Feng Shui as well. I did think it wasn't necessarily something that would fit into my life anymore. Because I really had that thought that it had to be really prescriptive, but knowing that it's more mindful, it's more intentional is really going to be helpful. And I cannot wait to dive into their book. So if you also want to get a copy of it, make sure you're heading over to those show notes, wannabeclutterfree.com/219. I will leave links in the show notes so you can get all of that information there as well. But I would love to know your thoughts on it. Did this change your mind when it came to Feng Shui at all? Have you tried Feng Shui in the past? Is it something you're maybe interested in trying again if you have and kind of got away from it? I definitely am interested to see where I can start to open things up because like I said during this interview, my home is feeling really stagnant right now. So I'm going to go open all the doors, set my timer for 9 minutes like we talked about, and just sit and breathe in it and see if that does help kind of make things feel a little more open and airy. And we'll see how it goes. All right. Well, I would love to hear from you. So if you do want to leave a comment or join in the conversation, come on over to Facebook. I'm there at the Wannabe Minimalist group is our private community over there, and we can have a conversation there about this podcast episode. Or you can join me over on Instagram at Wannabe Clutter Free on all the social channels. Send me an email if you'd like as well. There's lots of ways you can get a hold of me. But if you like this episode, I would absolutely love and ask one more time that you leave a rating and a review for the show. It really does make my day and helps me make the show better for you. All right. Thanks again to Anjie and Laura for joining us and offering us such amazing advice. I will be back here next week with another episode for you. And until next time, keep things simple, keep thinking clutter-free. Look around your home and see how you can switch up the energy a little bit and see if it might just be the change that you need to make. Maybe 9 minor little changes might make all the difference for you in this next coming week. So give it a try. See how you feel. All right. I'll see you next week. Cheers.